Walk with me on the devil's left-way path, where we will take several turns along the way. This path is multifaceted, dark, light, and everything falling betwixt. Crooked our steps will be, for the journey is never straight nor narrow. Greetings and salutations. I am Kindra RavenMoon. Welcome to the Thorn Rose Witch podcast. Here is where we discuss a bit about everything that falls under the umbrella of dark spirituality, witchcraft, Satanism, devil worship, and all things related above, below, and beyond. Happy Hearts Day, or I should say, Happy All Hearts Day. Actually, with Valentine's Day coming to an end and leaking over into Lupercalia, I will bid you a happy All Hearts weekend. How are you doing? I hope you had a productive week. Have you engaged in anything romantic for Valentine's Day? Or do you have anything special planned for this lover's weekend? Or maybe you're doing something special just for yourself. As for me, I treated myself to a few online purchases and engaged in some decadent bath products. The love I'm offering to anyone outside of myself for this Valentine's weekend or All Hearts weekend is answering your viewer questions in a video that will air sometime tomorrow evening. And I guess this podcast can be included with that love offering. This podcast in general is a continued offering from me to you. Getting on with today's topic. While most others honor Valentine's Day or Lupercalia by sharing love spells and things related to deities associated with love, I'm going to be adversarial. So why not on this day or weekend of love speak on a goddess figure that has nothing to do with love? She's actually the polar opposite. And actually, by origin, she's not even a goddess. Lilith, her name strikes a chord deep within and brings forth a forgotten memory from a time never experienced, never lived. Yet, with some of us called to walk the path of dark spirituality, or a path of dark spirituality, I should say, her name summons forth a recognition of some mysterious sort. Many have heard the stories and popular history of Lilith, so without getting too detailed, I'll lend a brief rundown. And if you would like to dive deeper in, you could take what I'm sharing here today as a base for embarking on your own personal research. As mentioned historically, Lilith is not a goddess, but she has been viewed as a powerful female spiritual figure in some traditions. In ancient Mesopotamia, the name Lilith is related to Mesopotamian wind or night spirits, such as the Lilitu. These are female demons or spirits, not goddesses, as many of you seem to think. In Jewish folklore, especially the medieval text, the alphabet of Ben Sirah, from approximately the 8th to 10th century CE, Lilith is described as Adam's first wife. She was created as an equal. So, as an equal, she refused to be submissive to him, and after not submitting to God's will, meant to force her to give her power over not only to Yahweh, but also fully to Adam. She fled Eden and became associated with demons and night spirits. In this tradition, she is a demonic figure, not a goddess. Jewish Kabbalah and mysticism portrays Lilith as a powerful demonic feminine force, sometimes seen as the consort of Samael. In modern times, Lilith is revered in contemporary spiritual movements, especially the feminist spirituality and some forms of modern paganism. Some people revere her as a goddess like figure, seen as a symbol of independence and female autonomy, sometimes honored as a dark goddess or archetype. But this is a modern reinterpretation, not Lilith's original role. None of these modern movements and New Age spiritualities come close to even touching upon the surface of the true raw power or authentic energy of this dark spirit force we know and call Lilith. Lilith's role in witchcraft and Satanism varies a lot depending on the specific tradition because Satanism or witchcraft isn't a singular unified belief system. However, several traditions of both Satanism and witchcraft come closest to connecting with Lilith's true power and revealing her authentic nature. Here's a breakdown of how she's generally viewed in the two general strands or umbrellas, if you will, of Satanism, starting with Anton LaVey's Church of Satan. Here, Lilith, like Satan, is seen as a symbol, not a literal being. So she is approached as an archetype of the untamed, self directed individual and represents sexual autonomy, rebellion against authority, independence from patriarchal control, and self sovereignty. Then, in theistic or, if you will, spiritual Satanism, which, if you are unfamiliar with this form of Satanism, it's an umbrella term that consists of individuals and traditions of Satanism that believe in literal spiritual beings. Now, it varies from tradition or individual. However, generally in this framework, Lilith is seen as a demonic queen, the first woman taken from Jewish folklore who refused submission, a consort or counterpart to Satan, a powerful independent spirit associated with night, lust, and hidden or forbidden knowledge. Some practitioners work with her as a goddess of dark feminine power, not always but usually as Satan's female counterpart. Also, they work with her as a spirit of liberation and exploring the shadow, a teacher of forbidden wisdom. Views vary widely. Like with witchcraft traditions, in Satanism, there's no single official doctrine as mentioned. Now, slithering into Luciferianism, let's do this, which sometimes is seen as being related to forms of Satanism, but trust me, it is distinct. In some Luciferian traditions, Lilith symbolizes the awakening of personal power, rebellion against imposed limitation, the dark feminine, balancing Lucifer's illuminating force. She may be seen more philosophically than demonically here. In general, throughout the ages, Lilith has been portrayed as a night demon, a child stealing spirit, or bloodthirsty baby killer, associated with lust and is a sexual temptress, using sexuality to control, weaken, and eventually kill her victims while at the same time empowering herself. Rebellion against male authority and the patriarchal hierarchy, of course, the night or wilderness, the untamed wildness and darkness that dwells within each of us. Some of Lilith's common attributes have been amalgamated with her from the demoness Lamashtu. Both a demon and malevolent goddess, Lamashtu is. She's called the mother of beasts and mistress of insanity. It is from Lamashtu that Lilith, as we know her in modern occultism today, has been bestowed certain attributes such as bloodthirst, murdering infants or children, or causing harm to children, causing miscarriages, linking her with vampirism. And that's the negative side of vampirism, I should say. This aside, though modern occult movements have largely reinterpreted Lilith in a more empowering way that is positive to the practitioner. Now, to debunk the modern synchronization with other goddesses, contemporary practitioners of the occult and witchcraft often wrongly group Lilith, Hecate, and Ishtar together under dark feminine symbolism. But historically and mythologically, they are very different beings with different origins and functions. Lilith is fundamentally a marginal, transgressive figure, wild, lustful, untamed, and outside divine order. Unlike Lilith, Hecate was worshipped openly and honored in temples and household shrines. She represents liminality and mystical knowledge, not rebellion against male authority. Ishtar, or Inanna, was a major state goddess associated with love, sensuality, and sexuality, fertility, war, political power, and divine authority. The biggest mistakes many contemporary witches and pagans make is believing that Lilith is interchangeable with Ishtar, that they are one and the same. I have come across this notion many times when attending public pagan gatherings. Historically, in short, Ishtar is not marginal or demonized. She is royal, central, and politically powerful, while Lilith, again, I will state, is marginalized. She's a marginalized demonic folkloric spirit. The relationship between Lilith, Hecate, and Ishtar with the order or natural order also differs greatly. Lilith operates outside and opposed to order. Hecate operates within cosmic order, and Ishtar is a central pillar of divine order. So, as you see, all very different. I think the reason modern occultism and paganism merge these three feminine forces together is due to the fact that each is associated with the underworld, liminal symbolism, the night, female power, and in some form or other, sexuality. When it comes to sexuality, though, Hecate is linked to the roles of marriage, midwifery, childbirth, and in a modern context, being a liberator of women and sexual minorities, while Ishtar is related to sensuality and love, and sexual love, or I should say, love making. When it comes to sexuality, Lilith is only about lust and lustful sex for personal gain and empowerment. The sexual aspect of Lilith can be dangerous and deadly. In a modern context, she is associated with abortion, sexual promiscuity, all aspects of prostitution and the sex industry. And as you know, this is not always good or legal for that matter. And with this, she is linked with taboo sexual desires. Because I'm being adversarial for this Valentine's weekend episode, I brought up here some dark truths on Lilith that don't or rarely get brought into discussion at modern occult, witchcraft, or even satanic tables. It appears that most swimming in these contemporary circles don't want to acknowledge Lilith other than making her out to be something she is not: a mother figure, a maiden lover, a loving, protective goddess, a sexual pleaser, a goddess of beauty and love, etc. Everything she is not. And for those who like to put Lilith in the mother or maiden form, if you will, as a young sexual seducer, if we're going to stick Lilith anywhere in the mother maiden crone aspect, Lilith falls into the crone, the energy of the crone. So that's something to think about for those who are not seeing her in that light. Now, figures such as Lilith throughout time, it is not uncommon for their roles to change, especially throughout currents of Satanism. Lilith has shifted from the role of a marginalized demonic night spirit to a dark goddess who rules over these spirits of night and who is the mother of demons, taken from her initial story from Jewish texts, where after escaping to the Red Sea from the Garden of Eden, she mated with Samael and gave birth to 100 demons per day, resulting her becoming the mother of thousands of demons before Yahweh sent his angels to murder them. And this is where we get why Lilith seeks revenge on humanity by the story of her being a baby killer. And again, this in turn, as mentioned earlier, is basically slithered off the mythology of Lamashtu. Now, in currents of anti-cosmic Satanism, for example, and Orthodox Satanism does fall into this. This is why I'm speaking specifically here on currents of anti-cosmic Satanism, because there is more one path within that umbrella. Lilith is not only the mother of demons and a dark goddess, but she is also revered as a high-ranking deity or deity. She acts as a crucial ally to Satan in opposing the cosmos or cosmic order, if you will. She is viewed as a primordial force of chaos, the other world, independence, and the dark feminine aspect of the divine. She breaks down structured patriarchal systems and destroys that which does not bend to the will of the dark gods. Lilith is approached as a raw, untamed power who helps individuals confront their own shadows, repressed desires, and self destructive patterns. Lilith is associated here with the dark moon, the crossroads, and the serpent, embodying a fierce, uncompromising, and sometimes vengeful energy that demands the practitioner's authenticity. Lilith, in traditional or folkloric witchcraft, is a complicated topic because historically she was not originally a witch figure. She was, as previously mentioned, a night spirit or demon in Jewish and Mesopotamian folklore. Her connection to witchcraft is mostly a modern development, though there are some historical overlaps in symbolism here, though. Looking at the early modern witchcraft and demonology, the early modern period, the 15th to 17th century, during the European witch trials. Looking at this, Lilith does not appear prominently in witch trial records. Demonologists were more concerned with Satan, incubi, succubi, and named infernal spirits. However, themes overlap: night flight or spirit flight, if you will, sexual transgression, infant mortality, reversal of the patriarchal order. Lilith fits the symbolic profile of what authorities feared witches represented. but she was not a central figure in the trial documents. However, this being said, Lilith can be and has been linked with Diana or Diana as the Queen of Elfham, and many stories concerning the Queen of Elfham hold very Lilithian qualities, especially her role as being the consort of the devil. I'm speaking of the folklore devil here. Traditional witchcraft as a modern reconstruction. In traditional witchcraft, distinct from eclectic Wicca, especially when I say traditional witchcraft, speaking of British traditional craft, Sabbatic craft, some Luciferian influence paths, Lilith may be reinterpreted as the Queen of Witches, as again interchanging her with Diana, a night wanderer or spirit of the wilderness, a consort of the devil or horned god, and a primal feminine current. Here she becomes part of a witch current associated with the crossroads, the night wind, the wild feminine or wild unknown, sexual freedom, the witch's Sabbat. This is largely a 19th to 20th century occult synthesis, influenced by Romantic occultism and not a continuous medieval practice. Lilith in Sabbatic and Luciferian witchcraft in some currents of traditional witchcraft. Lilith is seen as the feminine polarity of the adversary. She represents the other side of Eve untamed, outside divine law. She may be invoked in rites focused on dream work, sex magic, spirit flight, or liminal trance states. In these contexts, she is less a child harming demon and more of a psychopomp of the night, a teacher of forbidden knowledge, and a spirit of ecstatic freedom. Why I think Lilith appeals to modern traditional witches is she embodies themes central to many craft paths: outsider status, defiance of imposed hierarchy, night travel, astral visionary experiences, erotic power as a magical force. Again, I'll bring up the term wilderness, and this would be here wilderness over civilization. She represents the witch as a social exile, boundary walker, and keeper of hidden knowledge. Now, please note, there is no single authoritative traditional witchcraft view on Lilith. She was not as a historical medieval witch goddess. Her integration into witchcraft is largely modern, and interpretations vary widely between covens and solitary practitioners. Before ending things for today, when it comes to the history of Lilith, I want you to know it is important to note the Bible barely mentions Lilith. We have her here in Isaiah 34:14, and it's a debated translation, though. Most detailed demon queen narratives are medieval. Her role as a structured queen of hell is largely a latter occult expansion. There was never a single authoritative doctrine that defines Lilith in this way or any of these ways. At the end of the day, though, no matter the path you walk and how you choose to approach Lilith or how you allow her to present herself to you, I should say, there is no universal correct way to honor, worship, or work with Lilith. I encourage you to learn about her history, religious folklore, and surrounding myths, just to maybe know the energy that surrounds the spirit. Know how her spirit has progressed throughout the ages. Remember, though, to question what you learn and where the information you take it in stems from. Don't take anything at face value. If you are a traditional witch or Satanist who aligns with a specific current, then it is up to you to be authentic in your approach within that tradition and be honest with yourself about how you're experiencing Lilith or any deity for that matter. Now, I gave you a lot to absorb and consider on this topic today. There is so much more I have to share on Lilith, both from an academic perspective and practical information from the experience of a practitioner. However, there is way too much to fit in one shot. So for next week's episode, we'll revisit the topic of Lilith, keeping it lighter this time, where I'll be speaking more from a practitioner's point of view and lending some practical information for the devotee and those wanting to engage with the dark force that is Lilith. Until we meet next time, my dears, I bid you infernal love and darkest blessings under Lucifer's light.